Hi, everyone, and welcome to this new show called I'm Exhausted. This is a pregnancy and parenthood podcast for all of those that are just being parents for the first time or that are in this journey for a long time, that have been in this journey for a long time. I am your host. My name is Marcella. I've been a podcaster for over 2 years. I am not used to doing a show by myself, so we're going to see how it goes. But I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope that you can get something out of this. I am a first time mom, or should be this year, later this year. I manage a couple of Instagram accounts. I do a lot of food content. I do a lot of local content and travel content, and this is definitely something new for me, but I'm super excited to be part of this and start this journey and see how it goes. The I'm Exhausted podcast came from me finding myself Googling everything and feeling a little bit alone because there wasn't many other people going through what I was going through around me, and just wanting to create a community of people that are pregnant or recent parents, or they've been parenting for a while, where we can support each other, where we can help each other out and just kind of rant, hear each other, make sure that we can talk to each other. And I know there's a lot of forums already for this and everything, and there's some great ones that we'll talk about. But I just wanted to create a podcast where we can talk about it too. Today, for the first episode of I'm Exhausted, the podcast, we are going to talk about fertility, Mounjaro, and the first signs and steps of being pregnant. So let's start talking about fertility. Fertility is a touchy subject for many, and a lot of the time there's some taboo involved with the subject. There shouldn't be, just like mental health. It's just so normal, and then there's so many people having issues conceiving babies now that it's normal. So, I am an IUI baby, and since I was little, I've known that I'm an IUI baby, and I don't know, I've never had that stigma, associated with it. So let's talk a little bit about infertility, fertility, treatments, and a little bit of my story. So there are many types of infertility, and the one that we were experiencing as a couple was unexplained infertility. So my partner Jason, he had a vasectomy reversal when we first not when we first started dating. No. It had been like 2 years when we decided we wanted to have kids together. He already had his kids, and he had had a vasectomy in his previous marriage, but he decided to reverse it, which, if you ask him, he didn't love the process. He said it hurt way more than the actual vasectomy, but he actually wanted to have a kid with me, and we had talked about it and we were ready for it. So we decided to go through the reversal and try it the natural way at first. The doctor told us that if after kind of like 8 months of trying, we couldn't conceive and get pregnant, we needed to go to a fertility treatment. So we did, and we went to a fertility treatment here where I live, and we were diagnosed with unexplained infertility, which, by the way, what was that? I felt completely that you can't do anything about it, right? Because it's unexplained. How am I supposed to know the root of the cause if I can't even explain why I can't have babies, or why can't Jason have babies? Because we were both, there was nothing wrong with me, there was nothing wrong with him that could be seen or anything. So here we are in a journey of we don't know what the heck is going on. Because we had this unexplained infertility, which is really, according to Loma Linda University, when infertile couples or individuals have undergone all appropriate tests and not cause for their infertility is found. Around 15% of infertile couples are diagnosed with this unexplained infertility, which is not a lot, but also that's a good amount of people to have infertility issues with no reason. Usually what it involves, it's either a poor egg or poor sperm quality or problems with the uterus or anything that it's less of like a PCOS or anything like that, right? That are other causes of infertility. So there are several options. If you have unexplained infertility, there is ovarian stimulation, there's timed intercourse, lifestyle changes, in vitro, and intrauterine insemination, which is IUI. We decided to go with ovarian stimulation and IUI. This was such an emotional roller coaster to go through this. So, how it works if you've never done an IUI treatment and you're thinking about doing it, it is it is worth it. It is something that if you are willing to do, it's a cheaper option than IVF. For IUI, the treatments are usually about $300 to $500 a treatment. Now, a lot of insurances do not cover any type of fertility treatment, which really sucks because everything has to come out of pocket. And it is a lot of money that you spend on this, right? And then on top of that, having kids is not cheap. So what I did was that I started taking some medicine that would help me create more eggs. And then I would release the egg with a different medicine called Ovidrel, I think it was the name of it. So IUI, as explained by Planned Parenthood, it stands for intrauterine insemination. And it's also sometimes called donor insemination because a lot of people that want to have kids and they don't have a partner, or the partner cannot produce sperm for some reason. They use a lot of donors for this, and it's again cheaper than IVF and kind of less invasive. There are two different types of drugs that we use. We used Femara for one of them, and obviously, if you guys want to know more specifics on the drugs and how they interact with you, ask your doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'll repeat that over and over again. I'm just sharing my experience, but there was Femara, which did very well with me. And then there was Clomid, which absolutely threw me off my course. And like my mental health went to heck with Clomid, and it was really rough on me, and I had like a mental breakdown, and I was fighting with Jason, and it was not a pleasant experience. Femara was way better. So anyway, you take the medicine for 5 days sort of, then you trigger your ovulation, and then you either have IUI, which is what I had, that you go into the doctor, they take the sperm sample and they put it inside of your uterus, or you have timed intercourse. The first time that we did IUI, we had great numbers. He had great numbers. I had great numbers. And then my progesterone levels didn't work well. After that, we had horrible numbers and we tried at least I think another 4 times before we said enough is enough. We are way too stressed with different things. This is like 2021 and 2022. There was too many things going on. There was a lot of stress and a lot of everything. And through the pandemic, I had gained a lot of weight because I became very sedentary and I just wasn't feeling my best. I wasn't feeling very healthy or anything. He wasn't feeling very healthy either. And we decided to take a break and work on stress and health issues and everything. And then we were going to come back to it and figure out what we were going to do. Most probably, we were going to give IUI one more chance and then IVF if nothing else works. Go back into the last IUI and IVF treatments around March this year. And of course, you're hearing me talk about this, but you're going to figure out what happened. But let's talk a little bit about IVF, also explained by Planned Parenthood. It stands for in vitro fertilization, and it is one of the most widely known fertility treatments. And it works by using a combination of medicine and surgical procedures to help sperm fertilize an egg. And then that egg it implants in your uterus. This is more invasive than IUI, and you have to take more medicine, more hormones, and everything, and it is significantly more expensive. So we saw that IUI treatments can be anything from $300 to maybe $500 to $1,000, depending where you're going. But IVF treatments, each cycle, it's roughly $12,000, which is a lot of money. And unfortunately, if it doesn't work, you get a discount for a second cycle. But don't be fooled. It's not a lot of discount. It's still in the thousands of dollars that you're paying monthly to be able to try and conceive a baby. It's very invasive. It's very expensive. I've heard great stories. I've heard people that have spent a lot of money, and I've heard people that only spend $12,000 because they only had to do one cycle. So it honestly depends on your body. I am not sure. I didn't go through the IVF process. You also have to take fertility medications. You also to produce several eggs, and then once those eggs are ready, they take them out. The sperm from your partner or donor and the eggs are fertilized. So the eggs are fertilized with the sperm in vitro. So they are done in the lab, and then they are put back into your system, and then it has to like catch to your body and everything. That is pretty much IVF. Now, according again to Planned Parenthood, some of the side effects from IVF was bloating, cramping, breast tenderness, mood swings, headaches, bruising from shots, allergic reaction to medicines, bleeding, and infection. From IUI, by the way, I had when I triggered my ovulation, I would get crazy bloated and so much pain. But apart from that and the Clomid that just drove me insane, I don't remember any other side effects that I personally had. Now we're going to talk about how I ended up getting pregnant after years of trying with IUI and timed intercourse. So my journey lasted over 3 years, and it's been pretty interesting. I legitimately never thought growing a family could be so hard, especially because when you're young, of course, everything is easier, but you are able to, you get a lot of people telling you like, okay, don't have sex, you get pregnant, and all of these people getting pregnant and all of that. You never imagine that it changes so much as you grow older, right? After we decided to take a break from doing IUI and work on our health, I realized that my A1C, which is my blood sugar for 3 months in my body, had been not pretty high because it wasn't extreme, but it was elevated. So my the nurse practitioner that sees me, she recommended that I started Mounjaro, a new medicine that helps lower A1C in adults. And that would help me kind of lose the weight that I had put on. Again, I'm a foodie, so I do eat a lot because pretty much it's my job. And I get invited to different restaurants all the time, and it's a lot of fun, but it could be pretty unhealthy if you're not exercising, and that's what happened during the pandemic. And it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it but get healthy again, right? So I was like, sure, let's try Mounjaro and let's figure out what's happening. Let's talk a little bit about Mounjaro. Let me explain to you a little bit about what it is and what it does. So, again, medicine is to improve blood sugar in adults. The actual name of the medicine is called trizepatide. And if you want more specific information on it, just go ahead and call your doctor, ask them what is it about and if you need to take it. You can start Mounjaro in different milligrams, in different doses. I personally started Mounjaro at a 5 milligram dose every week. So what it is that you give yourself a shot with a needle that it's as thin as insulin needles. So my dad is a diabetic, and that's why I was really scared of having my A1C higher, and that's why I went with this. And I know a little bit more of like the needles and all of that, but it's a really thin needle that you barely even feel when you like give yourself the shot. What happens when you put the shot, when you take the shot and whatever, is that you instantly feel grossed out by food. So it was like you would think of food, I would think of any food, and I was just like, ew, no, I don't want to eat or anything. I knew I had to eat because if not, it can give you hypoglycemia, which is like your blood sugar goes way too low and you can go into like it could be pretty bad, right? I was super grossed out by food. I was very, very thirsty. I had some nausea, and for the first couple of days, I got pretty anxious with that medicine, but it wasn't that bad after. Like after a couple of days, the anxiety would go away. I took the medicine for about a month and a week, and I had lost a lot of the weight that I put on 2020. I was really happy with it. It gave me energy and it gave me better A1C numbers. And I truly loved using the medicine because it was not a stimulant and it was great. Like I was losing the weight, I felt energized, I felt better. The Mounjaro was making me feel like my body was again working efficiently, if that makes sense. So I felt like helping my body work again. Even though I didn't know I was needing something, it just felt better all over again. Now, at this point, I was supposed to get my period. I knew that because of the Mounjaro, my period could be late because of all the changes the medicine was having in my body. So I didn't think much of it. Because of our fertility journey, I tend to get myself hyped up because we really wanted this baby. So I'm always like, if I'm a day late or two or like a week, I'm always like hyping myself up. So then I go buy a pregnancy test, take it. When I see it's negative, the next day I get my period. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this because I know I talked to some of my friends and they have the same issue and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I know that if I take a test, it's gonna be negative, and then I'm gonna get my period, and it is what it is." And I was like, "I've done it way too many times, right?" So I was like, "Okay, this is because of Mounjaro or whatever. I am just going to go to CVS." And I got a pregnancy box, like a pregnancy test box. I got a box of pads and a chocolate because I was like, I'm gonna get my period and I deserve to treat myself. I took the test. I saw instantly the control line fill up, and I was like, oh, okay, there you go. That's the negative. Whatever. I'm still gonna give it the 3 minutes because why not? At this point, too, the Monjaro wasn't giving me as much energy as I was feeling the first couple of weeks. So I was like, it's kind of odd, but I'm just hyping myself. Well, the 3 minutes passed, and lo and behold, it was positive. Of course, I took two more pregnancy tests because I was like, of course. I went on the internet and I was like, false positives for pregnancy because of Monjaro. Can Monjaro give you this? Can Monjaro make you test positive for pregnancy or whatever? And I actually ended up in a Reddit community that I was following along for Monjaro. It was funny because as much as I was looking for confirmation that I wasn't pregnant, um, because I didn't want to get hyped up, I saw a lot of posts of Mounjaro babies, and a lot of them kind of having my same story of unexplained infertility, or a lot of women with PCOS that had tried for years. You don't understand. Years, 3, 5, 6, 7 years without any luck, even IVF, IUI, everything. And they couldn't get pregnant. And as soon as they started taking Mounjaro, boom, pregnant. And I was like, that's odd. That's very interesting. So I told you my story. I'm going to read you one. So someone else said on Reddit, on this sub, I have been trying for 3+ years, diagnosed with unexplained secondary infertility, have done 4 cycles of IVF or cycles of IVF and multiple embryo transfers without success. After being on Mounjaro for 8 weeks, I find myself spontaneously pregnant. I stopped as soon as I found out for a healthy pregnancy, and congratulations. There's hundreds of stories like this, and it is pretty incredible to see how this little medicine that we weren't even thinking about could help so many people, right? So there's many other stories of women that had tried metformin, and it didn't even help them either, because a lot of women, metformin helps them. And I mean, it kind of makes sense. Mounjaro, metformin, they just kind of help you with insulin resistance and help your body be more efficient and more effective. But I was definitely not expecting that. And it actually makes me wonder. So we talked about how expensive it is to get fertility treatment, and how expensive it is to just try to conceive, right? How crazy would it be if they start actually testing this, right? I'm assuming these Monjaro people are also in these Reddit platforms looking for what people are saying, right? It makes sense. We're all part of the experiment and see what other side effects it has on us. But it would be pretty interesting to see the game changer it could be for fertility, because so Mounjaro is pretty expensive if you don't have insurance. I think it's like $1,000 for a month worth of injections. With my insurance, at least, it was $25. $25 for 1 month of Mounjaro. Compare that to hundreds and thousands of dollars spent on IUI treatments and IVF treatments that didn't work for me. They work for many, it didn't work for me. But it is interesting to see how these new medicines that are coming along, it is interesting to see what's going to happen, what are the side effects and everything. I've read a lot of people had normal babies, they had pretty normal pregnancies. They just quit taking the Mounjaro after they found out they were pregnant, just like I did. But what is going to be the evolution of fertility treatments, right? Because this would be a game changer. Honestly, it's just like, I don't know if it's going to work for everyone. I don't know if it's not. Again, I'm putting some hope that these people are going to study what's happening and see. We're going to have more data in a couple years, right? And I am all in for making this something more affordable, because as much as some of us can pay for it, some other people can't. Some other people get into debt for this. I was never dead set that I wanted kids. I really wanted this one because I was with the right person to have a kid. But I know there's people that really, really, really know they want kids from a young age, and they can't get pregnant, or they don't have the means for it. So I'm pretty interested to see how this is going to evolve, and how Monjaro is going to change the game for fertility. So now let's talk a little bit about the first signs and the first steps when you find out you're pregnant. So everybody's signs and symptoms are going to be different, just like everything in the world. Everybody, every system is different. Even the same person can have different pregnancies. I've had 2 pregnancies in my life. one that wasn't completed and that the second one, right? And they were both very different, how I found out. But let's talk a little bit about this one and what was the first symptom. And it was definitely my missed period and a lot of fatigue. I was absolutely exhausted. But there's some or other common pregnancy symptoms, and it could be breasts. Your breasts are in pain. They're so sore. They feel heavy. You can also get morning sickness, which, by the way, it's not only morning sickness, and it is depends on the person, but for me, it's been all day sickness, and it is brutal. Frequent urination. These symptoms are not very helpful, but honestly, the more, the most pressing symptom would be your missed period, and then of course you take a pregnancy test, you figure out you're pregnant, and what do you do after that? So after you get your first pregnancy test, go ahead and figure out first your doctor. If you already have a doctor, an OBGYN, or if you don't have one, which you should have a doctor, um, go ahead and find one. Now, I'll tell you from my experience, my insurance had to be it only covered 2 hospitals in my area, one that doesn't deliver babies and the other one that is 45 minutes away from here. And I had to figure out a doctor near the hospital that actually delivers. So make sure you find out what your insurance covers, what hospital it covers, what doctors it covers, and make an appointment. You're going to be excited if it's your first pregnancy and your first doctor's visit. I thought I was going to know more, but in reality, what they do for that first visit is that they're going to confirm you're pregnant by taking a blood sample, an HCG test. They're going to measure your HCG numbers, that they're in the right threshold, and the same with progesterone levels. And they're going to take a urine sample to make sure that you don't have a UTI, a yeast infection, which are very common in early pregnancy. I am one of those lucky ones that got both. And it hasn't been fun. We're going to talk about those in our next episode. But make sure you go to the doctor. Make sure that if you have any concerns, you you bring a list of questions, right? And honestly, you can find a list of questions online or whatever, but just take a minute to sit down by yourself and figure out, what do you want to know? So some of the questions that I asked were, what medicine can I take if I get a migraine? If I get a panic attack, because I get panic attacks, what can I take? If I can keep taking the medicine that I'm taking for my panic attacks, if I can, what certain foods can I eat? What can I not eat? How much weight should I gain and at what rate? So there's just several things that you can ask your doctor. Just make sure you go prepared, because sometimes what happens, I wrote all my questions down, because sometimes what happens is that you forget. You are so in the moment, and like the anxiety of seeing the doctor, of the blood work and everything, that it just leaves you your mind. But also remember that a lot of doctors have their portals that you can ask questions through it, and they are there to help you. So even if you have questions after, make sure you ask them. And then after they confirm pregnancy, for me at least, it was a 4-week wait. So I'm still on that 4-week wait. And then you get to go in and do your first ultrasound, which I'm not there yet, but hopefully soon enough, you'll be able to see that little thing growing inside you. And it's really cool, and it's really odd to know that you are creating life. But some of the things that I would recommend, I absolutely love What to Expect, the app. I know, my mom, my sister-in-law, my friends, everybody have recommended What to Expect the book. And I just haven't had the time to get it or anything, but I downloaded the app and it's really cool because it shows you how big it is by the week. It helps you answer some of those pressing questions. The creator of What to Expect, which her name escapes me right now, she's very knowledgeable. She also has a podcast, which I started to listen today, and it was very informative and it was a lot of fun. But it's also forums, so you can talk to other women that have been through what you're going through. And I know that if I have questions or anything, I can go there and they give you tips and everything. Every day there's something new in the app, and I absolutely love it. I know there's other apps like that. That was the only app that I downloaded and I absolutely love, but I'm gonna link it in the description and everything. But you guys, this was great. Let me know how you like the podcast. Let me know if you want more episodes. I would love to hear your story on how you became a parent and how you became pregnant, if you became pregnant, how your partner became pregnant, anything. I want to hear your stories as well. You can follow me on Instagram at I'm Exhausted Pod, or you can follow me everywhere else at Marce Creative Co. And I am going to also link it in the description so you can see the blog and everything. And we can connect there and we can just share more and more. I am very excited for this journey and everything to come. So, everybody, I will see you all next week.